Hey teeth lovers, welcome to today's show where I'm going to be chatting with you about rotator cuff strengthening because I actually get a lot of requests for this in my Instagram DMs. Rightfully so, right? Because I work with hygienists and the shoulders are a very important area of concern because a lot of people have pain and tension and poor flexibility, mobility, range of motion, all those things, right? And if we don't have healthy shoulders, it's going to be extremely difficult for us or you all hygienists to be able to do your job. So stay tuned. You want to learn how to strengthen your rotator cuff to have healthy shoulders.
Hey there! Welcome to the Lift for Longevity podcast, where our goal is to build our strongest, healthiest body. We all deserve to feel our best, but since we only get one body, we have to make sure to protect it by moving safely and with purpose to prevent pain, injury, and surgery. I'm your host, Brianne, and I'm a fit pro turned business owner and also a girl mom. I'm obsessed with educating and empowering dental pros on how to take care of their body by training efficiently and building the right muscles to prolong their career. I know you're tired of spending time working out but still dealing with annoying aches and pains, getting rid of your pain temporarily only to have it come right back just a few hours later, or feeling like you never have any energy. You wish there was a long-term solution to get rid of your pain for good. Well, I'm here to give you real-life, actionable steps that you can take today to get rid of your pain, say goodbye to quick fixes, and have energy to live a life that you love. So if you're ready to get stronger, enjoy your life outside the operatory, and have longevity in your career, grab yourself a high-protein snack and let's get to it.
So let's chat about the rotator cuff. So I know you've all taken anatomy and you know what the rotator cuff is, where it's located, but before we start talking about that, I want to just talk about the shoulder in general because our shoulder joint, it's a ball and socket, which it's just like it sounds. And the reason for this is because it has the most range of motion out of any joint in our body, right? Think about it. So if your hand's at your side, it goes all the way from 0 degrees up to 90, up to 160, right? Above head, straight arm reach. That's a lot of motion, right? And then it focuses on internal rotation, external rotation. The reason I'm bringing this up is because y'all know I work with hygienists, right? And 100% of the time I see, not even like 99, 100% of the time I see rounded shoulders in hygienists. So this is when your arms are internally rotated. And actually, fun little test for you. You can use a pen, but I don't even tell people to use a pen. If you stand up straight, okay, just in your regular relaxed position, in a perfect world, if your shoulders were at optimal position, your thumbs would be facing forward, more in like that neutral position. If you glance down and your thumbs are turned in towards your midline, right, towards your thighs, that's an indicator of rounded shoulders, right? So a lot of my clients, they'll come back to me and they're like, oh, my thumbs are pointing forward, right? Because I tell them this just so you can kind of track your progress. There's other things we can do, obviously, but that's what I want to get into is if you are constantly in that, that internally rotated state, there's no way in hell we're going to be able to strengthen our rotator cuff, right? There's no range of motion. There's no mobility. Like everything's really, really stiff and tight. And this is, things that I reiterate all the time, right? The pecs are tight. The lats are tight, right? And the lats attached up to the shoulder joint, those anterior delt. There's so many things going on that we have to kind of preheat the oven, right? If you will. So, and I talked about this in an earlier podcast, episode 13. I talk about how to properly warm up your body. This is going to be an indicator of that, right? Because if we don't have that flexibility, that range of motion, right? If our shoulders are stuck in that suboptimal position, how the heck are we going to strengthen the muscles that are weak? Because they're weak because our shoulders are out of place, right? Essentially our muscles, they're tight and overactive or weak in this imbalance because they're following path of least resistance, right? So they're going to follow our joints, right? And essentially if our joints are off, then our muscles are off, right? So we have to get to the root of the problem and fix the joint first, and then we can go on to the muscles. So I don't want to get too complicated today and kind of, chat your ear off because sometimes I tend to do that. But basically, I'm going to share an example of my client, Tammy. So Tammy actually, she was more of a rare case because she had full-blown frozen shoulder, right? And I have worked with that before, but it's really important that they do PT first because it's just like, it's a really severe injury. Like it's just like it sounds. Your shoulder's literally frozen. Like you can't move it. So she had done PT. So initially when she started my program, we really had to modify things for her, right? She didn't have full range of motion, let alone strength, right? So long story short, she completed my program. She has full range of motion. She's stronger. She can move her arm and her shoulder in all different planes, and like life's great for her, right? So, but it took time, right? And so what I'm getting at is one thing we want to do to first is kind of assess where is our internal and external rotation, right? Because that's kind of going to be our measurement, right? And I talk about, getting your movements screened, your movements assessed all the time is because how do you know what to fix, A, and then how do you know if things are improving, right? Just because you feel better. I have clients that feel better all the time in just a few weeks once we start to reduce tension in those tight muscles, but it doesn't mean their imbalances are fixed overnight, right? These things take time. So we have to make sure that we're first kind of checking our starting point. So basically, what I would suggest first, if you're looking to, fix your rounded shoulders, for example, in order to strengthen your rotator cuff muscles, I would suggest, and I say this all the time, I would definitely stretch the pecs. I would stretch the lat. So I like the single arm lat stretch on a door frame. You can use, you don't have to use a door frame, but you can use like a rig if you're at the gym or something like that. But it is life-changing, right? Because all these things are tight, and, if it's tight, our movement patterns are flawed, right? We're not going to have full shoulder flexion, abduction, adduction, anything, right? We're just not going to have full mobility. So what we need to do is, like I said, get those tight overactive muscles lengthened, right? So I would say the pecs and the lats. And then there's exercises you can do, but I'm not that type of person where I'm just going to give you random exercises because, again, like I stated earlier in this podcast, we have to kind of see where you're starting from, where your compensations are, what's tight, right? And, what degrees of internal external rotation you have. Everybody's different. So you can go Google rotator cuff exercises, but it's not going to do any good because essentially also, I mentioned this in my previous podcast as well, if our shoulder joint's off, then our scapula is off as well, right? They go hand in hand. And so that's just a whole new can of worms. And we kind of need to put everything back together first before we go strengthening. So I will, though, give a few exercise examples on mobility drills that I really, really like for the shoulders. One thing that I love, and you can just use the thinnest resistance band you have, shoulder dislocations. So you might not even be able to do these yet, depending on where your range of motion is currently. But essentially, the farther out your hands are from each other, the further away, the easier it's going to be. And I actually like to do these one at a time because I like to have healthy shoulders, right? It will, obviously when you do things one at a time, it takes a little bit longer, but it just hits differently when you do things on one side of your body versus two sides, right? Because a lot of times your stronger side takes over. And everybody's got more internal rotation on one side. It's just, I see it all the time. The other one that I like is, they're called CARs, right? Controlled articular rotation. So they take a couple minutes, but like I had these in my program, and my client Paige came to me once. She's like, I had a shoulder impingement. I did a shoulder CARs. She's like, game changer. Well, I don't know if that was a really aggressive, sorry, but it was a text. So that's, I imagine how she sounded. But basically, you can Google this, shoulder CARs, and you're just taking the shoulder joint through full range of motion, just body weight, right? Slow and controlled, and it just really helps to gain mobility, right? Mobility is kind of what we're seeking, right? Because we can't strengthen without mobility, right? We just can't. They go hand in hand. So that's why you see like these big, huge bodybuilders, right? They have all this muscle. They don't have mobility at all. Like they can't even move. So anyways, I'm ranting on now, but I would definitely say that. So I would say to start stretching those overactive muscles, the pecs, the lat, and then I would do some shoulder dislocations. You can do like 2 sets of, if you want to do a single arm, do one side at a time, like 6 or 8 each side. And then CARs, you really only need to do probably 1 or 2 on each side. So this might take you 5 minutes, maybe more, but it's just important to do because we need healthy shoulders as hygienists, right? Because if we don't have healthy shoulders, like I said, it will lead to impingements, frozen shoulder, needing surgery, like you're not gonna be able to work, and it's just avoidable, right? That's what I want to get at. So I hope this helped. Again, if you have questions, always feel free. My DMs are open. If you have pain in your shoulders, I'm happy to help identify or kind of assess your movements and where you're at and kind of how we can progress so you get your shoulders back at that optimal position so that you can have longevity in your career and enjoy what you do pain-free. That's all I have for today. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening in today. I hope you got a takeaway from this episode. And if you did, would you be so kind to share it with another dental pro you think would benefit from it? I know you love learning, and chances are that they do too. Also, I would love to connect with you on Instagram, so go ahead and head over to the Lift for Longevity podcast page or follow me at Built by Brianne. If you shoot me a message saying hello, I will personally respond because I love chatting with dental pros. Before you go, though, I want to let you know that I appreciate you and what you do, and I hope to chat soon. Until next time, stay strong.